Alright, welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, day number 263. Alright, so for today's status update, there are no developments on the renovation situation. Today's a weekday. No communications or updates on that. And since the 28th, we've got 4 new block types added to the Shopify Store. And today I did a bit of work on the next long form video. Orthoplex 64, how's it going? Biovan Man Juanta says, yo, how's it going? Alright, let's continue with development work on the terminal block mining simulation game. So yesterday I updated the input form class a bit to generalize the items that appear on it. So this way I can just extend the base class, and in the future I'll add probably tonight I'll maybe work on adding a button element. I guess one other thing I need to add is another method to the base class. So when I'm pressing tab, it's trying to cycle through the labels as well, which are not actually elements. They don't update the cursor. Same thing will be true of buttons. Zia Hanas 999 says, sun, snowflake, praying, peace symbol, star. Well, thank you for the positive vibes. Buddy, how is life? Life is all right. Things are chugging along. There's no massive wins lately, but no massive losses either. The days are getting longer. We're I guess we're coming up to the well, I'm in Canada here, so I don't know, not sure where you are located, but here it's the dark, depressing Canadian winter, and every day that goes by it's getting a little bit more light. Usually I guess the coldest days of the year are usually mid-February. So once that's over with, it'll be getting warmer and getting lighter. All right. So I guess we'll just copy and paste this to make the button. Do you know how to create AI? There's different types of AI. I have, back in the day, back in 2008, 2009, I wrote some back propagation neural networks, and I played around with restricted Boltzmann machines, which I think there was renamed to deep learning or something. I didn't get super. I just kind of like read about it on the internet and stuff, but I didn't become an expert at it. I never took any AI classes in school. I know a bit about how large language models are implemented, but I've never written one. Passion 5380 sends a wave. How's it going? IG, does that stand for I guess in this context? IG, it's fun, like watching your AI child growing. Maybe. I mean, like for training an AI model? Kevin Coolin says, "What's up, Rob? Not too much. Tonight we're working on, this is right here, is the beginnings of a button. So I can type some stuff and then type some more stuff over here. One should also add an option to disable enter here. And then when I tab again, it should go down to the submit button. So that's what we'll implement tonight. right, maybe. Maybe let's make a max lines. How many monitors? Right now, I have a laptop in front of me here, and then I have my over here on the side. I have the display with exactly what's being streamed. So for like the development process right now, what I'm looking at is literally what you see in this area here. But normally, if I'm working, I'm on my other laptop usually, and I guess usually only have one monitor. I guess back when I used to code more, I usually try to be. I found a lot more. Depending on what you're doing, I found there can actually be a really huge productivity boost having two monitors if you're doing some kind of like transformation task. Like I find, depending on what you're doing, there's many tasks where it does not help you, I find, at all to have multiple monitors. But like if you're comparing spreadsheets or something, or you're like, you're for if you're like reviewing a diff in like a merge diff or something, and you also need to like compare it to like a previous version, then that's the case where like anything where you would otherwise be all tabbing 1,000 times, find it's worth it. All right. Looks like that works. When do you use laptops? You don't really have to travel for your projects. Well, I had been in the habit of buying laptops because back when I did the consulting stuff, I actually did travel a decent amount, and it was a frequent thing. Like for some of the like the leads that I pursued, and I think where you could actually you can justify demanding more for compensation is one where you can actually, if the client wants, you can physically go to their office and like pull open the laptop and work beside someone. And that was something that I did on a number of occasions. But in the last, I don't know, I guess 5 years, that has not been necessary. So, and I've also, the last laptop I bought, it's the most expensive laptop I ever bought. It's a Lenovo. I paid like $2,200 for that. And I regret buying it because it was, I've had the most amount of hardware problems I've ever had with it. And it's also slower than the previous laptop I had. I'm not sure, but I have a hunch that they actually like pushed a microcode update to slow down the CPU, because I think it might actually be around the same. It was the same. It was this. I think the same era when Intel was having that problem with the dies cracking or something, and I think they tried to be conservative, so they like probably pushed some microcode to slow everything down. There's always something not working. Yeah, it depends on the laptop. Like the older laptops, I find are better. And I found the number one issue that I have is with newer ones is for some reason they just they haven't gotten the thermal management correct. So they keep cramming more and more like power and more like higher wattage stuff into a smaller space, but the laptop physically cannot remove the heat fast enough, and that seems to be the primary bottleneck. So the problem with that the other big problem with that laptop is the fan is constantly on the absolute maximum setting, so that that in itself wouldn't be an issue, but the problem is the fan wears out really fast. I've never actually had to replace a fan in my laptop before. That one I have, and it's nearly impossible to buy a new replacement fan. If you were, that was, I guess, around this time last year, I was also pushing to try and find a replacement fan for it, and that was quite an ordeal. I ordered like 4 different fans, and I only ever received 2 of them. They were supposed to be new, but they actually sent me used ones. Oh, we got a gifted membership here. Thank you very much, and congrats to Sad Pepe 7937. Appreciate the videos as always. Thank you. I think you said before, you made a chat before that implied, if I understood you correctly, loco stands for locomotive. So does that mean you're watching the stream from a train? That would be very interesting. That'd be, yeah, I think there was a period of my life where I thought maybe I could drive a train someday. Yeah, I actually had I had a video idea. Well, in testing some of my equipment, my sound equipment stuff, I got some videos actually of there's like a freight yard near here, and I tried to get some tried out some different microphones and stuff to test out the different acoustics of different mics and stuff. And I was thinking maybe going to do a video idea on it, but never got around to it. Too many other higher priority stuff came up. There's a surprising amount of detail to think about in terms of like the frequency response of microphones, and there's all kinds of issues depending on what preamp you use. Like if I just record the sounds on my my camera, there's automatic gain control. Well, it kind of if there's a sudden loud noise, the automatic gain control will kind of dampen it out. But if you use the different preamp without the filter over it, then you get the full dynamic range. But of course, then it can be unpleasant to listen to if you're like mixing it into a music into a video or something, or into a movie. Giordani says hello there. How's it going? I use my PC, bought 2018, still works flawlessly. Yeah, it actually kind of seems like computers stopped. There used to be a huge advantage to buying a new computer every 2 or 3 years, but it's that seems to have gone away. Yeah, I would think that my next computer will probably be a desktop, because the limits on laptops. The fact that the new laptops are just so loud, and the whole premise behind them is they're a nice self-contained low maintenance thing, but having to replace fans on them all the time, it's not pleasant. I have a business idea. What is it? Sell cookies? it's a pretty good business. As long as you can sell them in a place where you get the foot traffic. Although you got to get all your licenses and stuff though. Okay, so we added the max lines to the text area. So I guess I'll need a way for things to know when they gain focus and lose focus. Are you making a full-time living from YouTube now? Yes, the majority of my income currently comes from YouTube. Although technically, in the last few months, the revenue has been down substantially. So at the moment, I'm kind of just treading water and hoping that, with more content and more growth, the numbers will go up in the future. But we'll see what happens. Haven't seen a video from you in a while. Just see live streaming. I've been making videos. It just depends. Depends when you've looked. You can check the channel. My videos, most of my recent videos just don't get views. Which is something I can't control. Some of that is because I guess I've switched the topic around. I wanted to make more videos about like business and how to actually my insights and experience about business, which I guess is not quite the how to become a 37-year-old broke loser video. That video got 1.2 million, so lots of people want to watch that content, but not as many other people are interested in topics like marketing and law and stuff. Although those, in my view, those are kind of the more economically valuable ones. Economic doomer channels just killing it right now. Just talking about housing being too expensive. Nobody's hiring. Maybe we should pivot. So I actually thought. So I posted. I don't know if you saw, but I posted. I put a lot of time into that video. There's a 2-hour, 17-minute long video of the last people wanted to follow up on what happened with the renoviction. So there's a 2-hour video going into all the detail about all the renoviction experience and more details on all the stupid notices and stuff like that. But that one only got 1% as many views as the last one. So for that one, I don't really know. I mean, it is still kind of doomery, but in the watch time, like the watch time is very, very high. And I think it's, it has more likes than the other one. So I don't, whatever's required to make that, like the metrics are better. So I don't know why YouTube doesn't push it. Make the how to have a girlfriend video. It's for a friend of mine. I mean, I prefer to stay focused, stay on topic. I want to make videos about, engineering, technology. I don't want to just make videos about nonsense. How much $ has the Broke Loser video made to date? What's your log videos? So the total revenue for the How to Become a 37-Year-Old Broke Loser video was around $10,000. And I think basically all of that was within the first maybe month and a half or something. I think in sometime in January, the views basically just turned off, and it basically just kind of hit a wall and gets a few views per day. And the 2-hour follow-up video, that video has made $100. And I mean, it sounds like a lot, but the thing is I probably have at least 10 or 20 videos that took me just as much time as the $10,000 video. But the video gets it only makes $100. So when you average it out, it's not it sounds like a lot for one video. But then again, that video, I didn't do that video in 10 minutes. It took the better part of a month. Same thing as the last video. I think we get a clickbait title and thumbnail. It's just not important. Yeah, it is important. I mean, I think it's the last one is pretty clickbait too. It's just evicted ? In huge letters. But I don't know. I think there's an element, there's some kind of element to it that it's out of your control. I think there's some manual curation in YouTube where somebody clicks on a video to say okay, allow this video to get lots of views. What are your thoughts on vibe coding with Cloud Code and Opus 4.5? Some people are saying programming is over. People ask me about vibe coding almost every stream, and so it's moving up on my to-do list to actually sit down and use it. I haven't ever vibe coded yet. I have played around with ChatGPT coding and what was it? The one in GitHub. I forget the name of that one, but I tried just asking the large language model in GitHub some questions about my code, and there's specific things like if I say like make a class like this other class, it'll do that pretty well. But if I ask it to like do something specific where there's like a number of different constraints that all have to be correct, then it's not as good at that. Yeah, Copilot. I think it's not over yet, although we're still not at the peak improvement of AI. From what I've seen, it's like when you ask for a solution, there's a certain number of constraints that you have to satisfy, and what I find with most of these AI models is you'll say give me something that satisfies these 10 constraints, and if you say like give me something that satisfies this one constraint, it'll probably give you something that actually doesn't. But then once you start adding constraints and you say I want something that satisfies these 10 constraints, then it will it'll satisfy like 8 of them, but 2 of them it does not satisfy the constraint. But if you ask it to fix those things, it doesn't focus on those 2 constraints that are violated and fix those. It just kind of randomly it'll give you back another solution where like maybe it satisfies 9 constraints, and but it doesn't like remember and focus. And if you keep asking it, it'll just kind of like randomly fail to satisfy some of the constraints. But then eventually you might get one where by chance, in some permutation, it actually does satisfy all 10 constraints. And that really seems to be the bigger thing, is that when you point out the flaws in it, it just doesn't not remember it. So it's like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like we're currently we're not at the general AI stage yet. But I could kind of see some ways about like how maybe we could get runaway superintelligence with like multiple stages, like where you ask it to generate a solution, and then the second stage is you ask it if the output it just got satisfies that constraint. Gonna try Opus 4.5. It's good enough. I think it can get away with having cloud do everything for me at work. GPT 5.2, Sonnet 5 are basically what you're describing with unreliability. Yeah, I plan to try out. You're saying Opus 4.5. Okay, so Opus 4.5 and Cloud Code, are those related? Are those different products, or Cloud Code with Opus 4.5? Okay, so Opus 4.5 works on top of Cloud Code. Opus 4.5 is the model. Cloud Code is the CLI tool. Okay. Select the model. Both are made by Anthropic. Yeah, it seems to be the consensus is Claude Code. Everyone says use Claude Code, so that's once I finish the next long form video, I think that's probably going to be the next thing that I try seriously, and I guess I'll make a video on that. Hopefully, if I get time, it'll. I feel like I should do a deep dive on it, so I don't know how long it'll take me to get that together. I'd kind of like to do a well thought out response to it on because from what I've seen so far, there's a few different ways. I almost feel like traditional programming would not be over, but what it does, like AI coding, opens up a new coding tool that did not exist previously. Like, for example, when it used to be you just write, like years ago, you would just write a program and then try to run it in the compiler, and if you get the right result, then that's good. But then when debuggers were invented, that I think completely changed the actual development cycle for certain types of development. And then again, debuggers are not necessarily always something you want to use, but like for certain programming debugging problems, having a debugger being able to step through is it's a game-changing level up. I'll be interested to see. I'll probably use it for I could use better unit tests for this game, so I think this will be a useful substrate to see what it can actually accomplish. I'm actually hopeful, but programming with vibe coding, if you think about it, most of what we write is boilerplate. It's only about 10% of the code I actually care about. Yeah, I've thought about it, and we may be on the verge of some crazy, intelligence explosion or something, but it might not necessarily happen immediately, because I think the phase we're going through right now, like the most higher order learning right now, I think most of these models have already learned everything they can from existing code, existing books and projects and stuff. But I think the next layer of learning is going to be from using transcripts of existing developer interactions with these large language models, so you can tune the parameters of the model based on how successful a vibe coding session is. So if you have a vibe coder who gets frustrated and keeps asking for the same solution, the parameters are bad, but then if they accept the first solution, then that those parameters are good, and you can use that as labels. But I think the other thing to think about is that with vibe coding, the surface area for potential programmers to create those labels in the first place is going to be absolutely massive. Because think about how many trained computer programmers there are in the United States versus how many people would like to write a program if they could. And then if you think about how many grandmas can now just ask their Alaskan app to write some code that does something, or they might not even know that it's writing code. I asked recently I've noticed in ChatGPT, when I ask it to generate images, it's like chain of thought thinking or whatever, it'll say it's writing a piece of code to modify an image or generate or get the transparency level or something. And so that may be the next step of where we're going. CS and system design fundamentals still matter. Just takes the tedious part away. And Cloud Code gets training data from its users. Yeah, I mean, you would think it would make sense for them to use every bit of data they can to train it more. Funny part is, despite vibe coding tools being ubiquitous as of 2025, none of my relatives have made an app, despite several of them telling me their app ideas. Yeah, I think it's still it's still frustrating and difficult. You need to be able to articulate what you want, and a lot of people just don't have the patience to even deal with the conflicts in their own ideas. If they had any agency, they would have vibe coded an app by now. Being a creator is still being a 1% super minority. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I'm a trained software engineer, and I still have not sat down and actually really seriously tried vibe coding or any of this AI coding stuff, because in the last year I've been dealing with so many other things. Like the renovation stuff really took a lot of my energy. And I mean, think about how many people are just trying to survive and get housing and stuff. Having AI that can make apps and stuff. I don't know. In my opinion, nobody cares about apps. Personally, I don't use any apps at all. Vibe coding doesn't work if you don't know how to code it all. Yeah, it works okay. From what I understand, it works okay if it's a simple thing 1,000 people have done. Like if you ask for a calculator or something, but then again, even for a calculator app, there's details you have to specify, what happens with modulus and negative numbers. Dudes on Twitter that literally don't know how to code at all, make $200K a year from their apps that they vibe coded. Do they? Because I always hear about people trying to make apps and stuff like that, but apps have always just seemed like something that there's a lot of hype around making apps and making money, but I think it's mainly just been a scam that these Android and Apple and stuff they've created this perception that you can make an app and get rich just so that people will waste their time developing features that should be operating system features. So basically it's a way, instead of hiring developers and paying them, you get developers to pay you to write software for their platform that they should have written in the first place. I agree that being, can you give me an example? I assume you're asking about the app. I agree that being a programmer gives you a huge leg up with vibe coding though. Deployments, mitigations, and troubleshooting and production are all complicated. Jack Fricks. Not familiar with that guy. Another idea is that vibe coding opens up more avenues for the generalist programmers. Yeah. You don't need something like iOS. Yeah, there are a handful of success stories with apps, but I think they're also kind of I think the app platforms basically pick the app platforms are able to decide which apps actually the app stores are rigged, and they can manufacture. I think part of their whole scam is to artificially allow and pick a very small subset of people to allow their apps to make a lot of money and be successful, because that without those few counterexamples that people can point to, people say, oh well, it's too competitive or whatever. But if you're not in that like small group of people that get chosen, and the ecosystem can only support that many people who are making like 200K, because if everyone who had enough programming skills got that 200K, there's like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of programmers who could probably do the same thing. And of course, there's also lots of stuff to know about like marketing and how those things get promoted. Okay, I need a way. I need a way to tell items that they're receiving a focus. Maybe vibe coding helps him a huge amount, but he still knows a little bit of coding. It's one theory that if software devs gets 100x easier because of AI, there'll be tons of competition. It'll massively deflate software company margins. Yeah, I think that's also, I actually think that the tech industry has always been kind of like a bit of a scam. This like idea of like there's a shortage of developers has been a kind of fake thing. That was the impression that I got after years of like back in 2000 when I first started my business, 2015 or something. There was a lot of venture capital money flowing into all these startups and stuff, so everyone was developing their own software. But over time, it really seemed like there was a vacuum in the number of like companies that actually had a legitimate business case to write some software. Still respect to the guy. Yeah, I mean, if he is making 200K a year, and that's the other thing. Sometimes people talk about this stuff, but it's like, maybe I know some of the revenue curves for some of those apps are like, they'll make, it goes viral and it makes $30,000 one day, and it makes $20,000 the next day, and it makes $10,000, and the first year it makes 20,000 and 200,000, and then it like really levels off the next year or something. But if he's actually making that, then all the more power to him, because the number of people who try to do that and succeed is very, very small. Don't think it's viable for someone who doesn't know any code to create a successful app service. Yeah, I think there's also, there's a market incentive too for these like app ecosystems to make people think that anyone can do this. Because if anyone can look at this and say like, hey, I could do that, then the supply of people who will spend massive amounts of time and money trying to make an app is much larger. And so that's what gives you the the rich app store ecosystem. Like I bet if you like I said, I don't even use apps, but if you look at like, if you search for a calculator app, on like any platform. I bet there's like 50 different calculator apps. And you have to ask like, and some of them are probably very good, but how much money are each of those people making? I wouldn't be surprised if, the number 10 calculator app makes like $0. Live coding reminds me of no code hype 10 years ago. No code never really worked out. As far as I know, they were trying to make no code a thing 30 and 40 years ago. Developers are the last people to pay for apps. Yeah, the whole serverless fad, that was a big thing for a while. Although I think the AI coding is a bit different. I guess if you know the basics of programming, it pretty much is good at full stack dev of free AI. Being the 101st calculator app is not going to work. Even if you're like the 10th or like the 5th. Like I would wonder the answer to that question. What is the roll off in like revenue or benefit of having the like number 5, number 6 calculator app in any of these app stores? Like I wouldn't pay for a calculator app. I guess that almost makes me curious. I should probably look that up. See if any of these calculator apps actually charge money. I guess I could just put a Boolean in here. I was never big on serverless or cloud. I work for these big companies. They get attached to new tech buzzwords. I think they need to spend $50 million rewriting perfectly good on-prem apps to use Lambda. Yep, that's how it goes. 99% of apps can run on $5 VPS with a tech stack from 2008. Yeah, I've worked for one of the startups I worked for. They had Of course, they go through a phase where like they're well funded, and they actually had a server that had like they're paying, I don't know, a decent amount for it, a cloud server. They weren't even using it. It was just sitting there, and like nobody sat down to ask like, oh, is this old provision server, like, does anyone use that? And it was, spending like, I can't remember, it's like hundreds, or I think it was at least several $100s a month or something they're spending on this, not even using it. And of course, while they have money that's like, it's not worth their time to even think about shutting it down. And then later they started running out of money, and they're like, shut down everything we're not using. Ever heard of Jevons paradox? I have not. New tech stacks, pretty overrated. It depends what tech stacks you mean. Would you move out to a cabin in the woods if it had high-speed internet? It is a tempting proposition. I moved up here specifically to be, around people and to be plugged into the technology sphere of the area. I used to go to like events and stuff, and but the last few years, the revenue has just every day I get up, my priority is make enough money to bank some savings, and then I can go to events and stuff. And I used to even host an event, but yeah, I'm in Kitchener down here. I moved up here for school. I decided to stay around here because the very small amount of network that I had was here in the Waterloo area, and it was, we were supposed to be the Silicon Valley of the North. I don't really hear people talk about that anymore. 2015, there was it was kind of it was quite fun. I used to just go on Meetup, and basically every single weeknight there was some meetup about some new JavaScript framework people were making or whatever. I think there was still a bit more. There was still a bit of. I should go and look again. I guess during COVID totally killed off all the meetups. But I think there are still a few. But then again, I don't know. I went to a lot of them. There's a lot of people that are, what do you call it? I think I've heard people call it bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They're like, oh, I'm going to make an app just like that guy and make $200,000. They have lots of ambition. And there's a few people like that. From my other video, I mentioned I went to one of these meetups. It was like a business meetup, and there was just this divorced woman who had this idea to she was going to start this business making food or something, and this is, she's a positive person and stuff, but this is not ever going to become a business. And I think there's a lot of young people who are idealistic, but they don't have the funding, they don't have the skills. Every place was comparing themselves to Silicon Valley in 2015. Denver, Silicon Slopes. Yeah, and I also think calling ourselves the Silicon Valley of the North is not really flattering. It's like saying that we're the kind of immature younger brother of Silicon Valley. I mean, it's also kind of inapplicable too, because Silicon Valley was called Silicon Valley because of all the silicon, but we don't really, if we were to be any kind of modern analog, it would be like the Digital Valley or Coding Valley, or someone needs to figure out some better branding and marketing. Of course, we also had the ZIRP era, zero interest rates. So we had all this money pumping into the economy too. Silicon Lake isn't Waterloo on a lake? It is fairly I know the water table around here is quite high. It's a very kind of wet area. I think maybe something that's not. If we were to be serious about it, I think it probably would not include the word silicon. It would be I don't know, something more about I don't know, maybe something to do with the wintry, something descriptive of the wintry landscape, because there are a lot of the university, there is a lot of talented, hardworking people. I think the right branding would be something that encapsulates that. Nope, it's not quite working. Oh yeah, that's because I don't set this variable. The white wall. Yeah, I don't know. I guess you'd have to ask, like, what do we have going for us right now? When do you move to San Francisco? Get a job as an AI startup? I don't even know if that's possible. I guess for one thing, like the visa situation, that's an issue. The other problem is like finding housing. I would imagine right now there's probably a ton of talent. There's probably a way oversupply of talent. So I have no background in AI stuff. I guess it would be interesting to know how difficult that would be. But I would assume that I would just end up applying for like thousands and thousands of jobs like other people do. And then just like even in the best of times, in the golden times, it still took like many months. Like people would like to get those lucrative tech jobs. People would interview with like 50 companies. Spend like 6 months picking the best one and get them to bid against each other. And back when I interviewed at Twitter, they put me through, it was like 5 or 6 rounds of interviews, and then they're like, we don't have a position for you. And that was just for an internship too. And of course there's the whiteboard. You gotta memorize all your algorithms and stuff. And I guess nowadays lead code exists. I've never used lead code. That came after my time, but I'd have to start grinding lead code and solving all these useless puzzles and stuff, which is kind of fun. I kind of like doing that stuff, but the amount of time and waste that I have to invest in that, and then if I go that route, then I have to leave Canada. The very small amount of ties that I have are all here in Canada, so I'd be like, I'll be approaching 40 soon, so that's another big issue. These companies want to hire people who are fresh out of university because you can squeeze all the life out of them. Like they don't have ambitions like family or and they don't know they're insecure, so you can like tell them that they're not good enough. They have to work harder. But as people get older and they understand how the scam works, they start to learn to stand up for themselves, and they start going home at 5 p.m. Most AI engineers have no AI background either. They basically just know how to call an LLM. Well, if that's the case, they're not really very good AI engineers. Oh, look at that. My submit button is kind of working. Now we just need to like actually render it properly. And I also need to improve this like focus navigation. Because right now it's technically tabbing through the labels, which is not correct. All right, that's another little bit of atomic progress for tonight. Let's see. So I guess next stream, I will improve the rendering of the submit button. And then I guess also address some of the lingering issues with the setting and toggling through the focused element within the form. I'll make it so I guess either down yeah, I guess I'll just make it like the down key, down or up key will navigate up or down. And then the submit button also needs something better rendering than just a bunch of B's. And then I guess also when I press enter on the submit key, there should be a callback. What is this game? This game is a terminal-based video game where you can simulate the process of mining blocks in an infinite, procedurally generated universe. And the current arc of development I'm working on is implementing multiplayer. So here we got some ore. So we just spam the M key. We can mine a bunch of that. Then we can go down here and scroll through my scrollable list that works in the terminal. Then we can go through the crafting menu and we can craft a stone pickaxe. Then we can tab back over to the menu here. And now when I mine stuff, it mines out to a larger radius. And the full source code is in the link in the description. All right, that'll be it for tonight. So we'll pick things up again tomorrow night for what was it, day? Tomorrow will be day 264. I think. All right. Have a good night, guys.